So hello folks, it's Sunday, and it's as you can see, it's starting to look a bit more like a motorcycle lake. That side panel, get me teeth in, that's on. As some of you know, I got a second-hand exhaust from a breaker. I was very lucky to find it. Exhaust for these things are very thin on the ground. And when the box turned up, I thought, this doesn't weigh anything. It's wrong. They've got the wrong part. And I took it out, and it turns out, you probably won't see it very well because it's a little bit bashed up. I don't know whether you can make that out. But that is an original Vance & Hines 4x1, which were there expensive when they came out. I can remember the guy that owned the bike shop when I had my AR125, he just got rid of one of these in exactly the same colour with a Vance & Hines pipe on it, and I used to drool over it. He'd replaced it with the then brand new ZZR 1100, and a good mate of his had his Kawasaki. I can always remember it being very lust-worthy. But so yeah, that's a bonus. It can be tarted up. I've given it a quick lick of paint, but you know, the can be polished up and tarted up if I really want to. So anyway, I did it. Put all the cooling system back in after flushing it. Started up, runs lovely. It's a little bit fruity, but it's nice. So I was happy to start putting the fairings back on. There's no leaks or anything, which is good. The only problem I've got is that I don't have very many fasteners of the correct size. I'm a well nut missing there. I mean, I've just put this on just to see how she looks, really. Because you know what it is, you fall in and out of love with things, and then when they've not got the fairings on or anything like that, they don't look like anything. And I really love the look of these things with the fairings on. So that side panel's on. That's a genuine side panel, and I bought the original fastener for here. I had to helicoil the frame because somebody had mullered it out, so I fitted actually a double helicoil in there, a helicoil within a helicoil, and you thread lock them both and they don't move. I've got the belly pan here. It needs some work, as you can see, but I bought the original caps for these as well. But it's I mean, the bike's been down the road, to be fair, so it could be a lot worse. But anyway, went to start it earlier, and that's a brand new battery, and it doesn't matter whether a battery's been sat on the shelf 5 years with no acid in it, it should still be good, because it can't really corrode or anything. And it turned over fine for about the first 3 revolutions, and the bike was just catching, and then the starter solenoid does the old clicky clicky, and I thought, it can't be a flat battery. It just, well, it could, but it can't be. Anyway, I put the multimeter on the battery, still showing a healthy 12, but when you press the start button, that went right down to 5, which shows something's pulling too much. So the first suspect always is the starter solenoid. It's basically there as a big breaker switch, and what I've done, I've took the old one apart. As soon as I actually took the cables off, I did notice a little bit of corrosion, and a little bit of corrosion can equal a lot of resistance. So it's it basically works like an electromagnet. You get a command when you turn the ignition on. You get a command from the start button down to the starter relay, which takes DC from the battery. It energizes the little coil inside, and it will either push a contact plunger up to make the circuit, or it'll pull one down, because the top of the solenoid will be like a springy button. So normally, sometimes the plunger is up and it's open circuit, it won't send any power through to the starter. And when you energise the coil, it pulls a plunger down and allows the top two to connect, the button will lower onto the two posts, because they're obviously a post and then an L-shaped tab, and then the little button connects them both. They can get corrosion on them, dirt and all this lot. They have got an O-ring on them, but they're not 100% weatherproof. So I took my old one apart, so I shall put some photos up of what I found, because I'm not convinced that the batteries are dud. I'm really not. And the first port of call, if you've put like a good or a known good battery on something and they still don't start, or the start solenoid starts clicking or anything like that, is there are 3 ports of call. The first one will be the solenoid, because that works like a mini ignition coil, basically, the same sort of principle. And then that will shoot down. It's basically there to handle the cranking amps from a normal gauge 12 volt wire from your starter button up to your beefy battery cable. Basically, it's designed to take that load. The other one to look at, starter motor, because obviously you get carbon wear off the brushes, you can get a bad earth. All of this builds up too much resistance, and the first thing to trip will always be your starter solenoid. Sometimes they'll blow a fuse, but like they're 25-30 amp depending on bike. 4-cylinders tend to be 30. If you've got like a big single like a KLE 600 or something like that, they'll be 25 amps. But that is what the solenoid is designed to do. It's also designed to be a breaker. So like I say, I've pulled the old one apart and I shall order a new one tomorrow. There's loads of generic ones out there which are going to be way better than whatever was fitted to this originally, because that more than likely is the original solenoid, so it's the same age as the bike. So you know, it's sat there, it's probably sat there in the weathers and all that lot for all this long. Condensation is going to get in eventually, because there is, even though there's an O-ring around the body, atmosphere can still get past the posts. It's just one of them things. Fortunately, they're not massively expensive to replace. You're probably talking 20 good for a good one. 20 quid? 20 quid? I really haven't got my teeth in today. 20 quid for a good one. There's all different styles. Try and get the one that matches yours, and then you know it's pretty much plug and play. And it will sit in its original little rubber holder, and because this is designed to hold a spare fuse underneath, and to also to absorb any vibration and what have you, because there's very hair thin wires in the coil, so you don't want to solidly mount it. This place really does need a clean up. Anyway, there's another couple of little jobs to do. I've got a couple of extra side panels I managed to find on eBay. Parts for this bike, especially bodywork, stuff like that, and exhaust. You can buy engines all over the place. You can stick a ZZR11 engine in it or anything like that. You can put ZXR brakes on them and brake upgrades and fork upgrades. You can do all that, but finding bodywork and finding stuff like exhaust, unless you get one custom made, they're like hen's teeth. They're getting very rare. And these sort of things, like the original GSXRs, probably not so much the original CBR 1000s. They just weren't a lust-worthy machine like these were. But Gixxer 1100s and stuff like that, the first gens, Suzuki are brilliant at supporting their classic program. They're getting more and more parts in for those. So classic Suzukis are fairly well supported. Kawasaki, I think, are catching on. The fasteners and everything, most of them are still available, and they're not that badly priced. Always check the original manufacturer pricing first, because you might be pleasantly surprised. But obviously we're always told, oh no, they're far too expensive, and that's, as a rule of thumb, that used to be very true. I can remember, I think it was this second generation, I can't remember whether it was first or second generation ZXR 750, but one of the motorcycle magazines at the time, could have been Performance Bikes, they bought a ZXR 750, or they got the list price, whatever it was, and I think it was 4,000 something, whatever it was. I think it was under £5,000 then. And then they added up all the cost of the spares to build the bike. And even back then, around 1990, something like that, 91, it was around £30,000 in spares. But, you know, bike manufacturers aren't just guilty of it. This is how car manufacturers make their profits generally. You know, it's nothing new under the sun, which is why we always prefer to try and repair something rather than replace it. Because if you can repair it, you can probably do it for free or very little. Also, there's the argument to always buy OEM, don't buy third party. That's partially true as well. Check the prices. If the third party one is, you know, within a few quid, buy the OEM, because it's, you know, it's going to be warranted and etc, etc. So that's all from the shed today. The next bit I shall show you will be the solenoid that I've took apart, and then you'll hopefully see what I'm getting on about. So that's it from the shed. We're not that far away from an MOT. I've got some proper fairing screws coming, so I can actually, I'm going to try that other bodywork from Germany. There is a panel, one of them looks really rough and ready on the outside, so yeah, that I quite like that, because it's going to annoy the shit out of people. This is actually the other side, and it could be repaired. It's not that bad, as you can see. So I mean, somebody's hand painted it. It's not bad. It's more than presentable for me. You know, a lot of people are not going to be happy with it, but that's them. These are probably people that wear beige cardigans. But as you can see, this is a replacement panel anyway, which I don't think you can get anymore. But you see, this is fiberglass. Somebody's already had a go. This was the side that went down the road, I'm sure of it. Somebody's already had a go at sort of bonding washers and stuff on it. So, I mean, outwardly, it's pretty acceptable. Inwardly, I know it's like that, and although I'm not fussed on cosmetics, this could be done a lot better. A lot better. But, you know, you work with what you got, and that's probably all the chap had, to be fair. And he gave it a good go, and it's probably functional. I've not done it because I need these bottom holes to be functional, obviously to hold the weight of the belly pan, because the belly pan is held on by these style things here, down here, one either side, and the rest is just screwed to the side panel, so they've got to be good and strong. This is pretty solid. That's yet to be screwed down. I've not got any fasteners for this. I think they're an M5 or an M6, but Kawasaki, like other manufacturers, you'll get a load of screws and you'll go, oh yeah, that's the ones for these M5 or whatever it is, a nice little button head or something. And then all of a sudden you'll come across one that's an M6 for no reason. Well, I'm sure they had a reason, but it's just what it is. You all know the game. Even if you're just tinkering around with a brand new bike, there could be 20 different size fasteners just to do one thing. So that's my update. I know I'm waffling. James, shut up. Yes, Dad. Biscuits. So this is the green fused part of the solenoid removed, and you can see that there is some corrosion underneath, and of course corrosion means resistance, and resistance also means heat build up, which can melt the wires. And you will also see in a second there is some corrosion on the posts there. Obviously the detritus and stuff around it doesn't help matters either, but you can see there's some corrosion on the post there. That is the plunger inside, and under the plate is the windings. When it's energized, it pulls that plunger down. Usually that's forced up into the button, which you'll see in a moment. So that when it's up, it's an open circuit, and you can see the spring-loaded button there, and that is the bottom of the post. You see how I said they were an L shape, and then you've got the two conductor wires at the top. Now those are really thin, really easy to break, but they can also overheat very easily. There you go, that's the spring-loaded button. and that's the type C. You've got a B and an M. Obviously B is to battery, so that's your positive, and then M goes down to starter motor, and people do get them the wrong way around. That's it then, guys. Thanks very much.